Division of Criminal Justice, Steve Furketic, and Chief of Detectives, Walden Powell. We're here to announce that earlier today, my office filed criminal charges against 2 senior corrections officers employed by the Juvenile Justice Commission. I stand before you as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of this state and as the head of the Department of Law and Public Safety, which is where the Juvenile Justice Commission is housed. I also stand before you as a father and as an advocate of progressive steps that we have taken in the field of youth justice and in the ongoing reform of that system. But today, that system failed to keep a young woman in our care safe from harm. Earlier today, Senior Corrections Officer William Young and Senior Corrections Officer Gary Nieves, both assigned to the Female Secure Care and Intake Facility, the state's secure care facility for females adjudicated as juveniles, located in Burlington County, also known as the Hayes Unit, were taken into custody, processed, and held pending their detention hearings, on the following charges. For Gary Nieves, 4 counts of sexual assault in the 2nd degree, 1 count of criminal sexual contact in the 4th degree, 1 count of official misconduct in the 2nd degree, and witness tampering in the 3rd degree. For William Young, sexual assault in the 2nd degree, criminal sexual contact in the 4th degree, and official misconduct, 2nd degree. The Director of the Division of Criminal Justice, Steve Furketic, who's with me today, will provide more detail, all of which is incredibly disturbing, about these charges in just a few moments. The conduct that we allege today has no place anywhere in New Jersey. Young people confined to juvenile facilities are extremely vulnerable. They deserve safety, care, and respect. The men and women who staff these facilities understand that mission and work tirelessly to achieve it. Where, as alleged here, corrections officers take advantage of the youth that they are supposed to protect, we will root out misconduct and prosecute it to the fullest extent of the law. I am also committed to understanding the circumstances that allowed these acts to take place in the first place, so that we can ensure that nothing like this will happen again. While these alleged acts would be deeply troubling under any circumstances, they're made even more heartbreaking because we know that almost every young person placed in the youth justice system has already endured trauma and pain, whether that be ongoing personal trauma, histories of physical and emotional abuse, and in some cases, substance abuse and mental health issues. Many of them come to us with little sense of self-worth and with little expectation of future success. It is our job, using the evidence-based approaches and treatments and programs, as well as the years of rehabilitative experience that we've developed, to build these young people up. I've personally seen the life-changing work of the JJC. I've seen its successes. I've seen caring and supportive adults interacting with young people and doing exactly what they are charged to do. Help them realize the personal and unique potential that each young person has and give them the life skills they need to change their lives. And I've also met with the young people in our care, and I've talked with them about their experiences. I've seen their creativity, their desire to pursue their passions, and to leave JJC better for having been part of it. And that's why, for me personally, today's announcement is all the more heartbreaking. The victim in this case was allegedly sexually abused by the very officers who were supposed to be protecting her and providing her with care. We know that so many staff members at the JJC are caring and supportive and dedicated to creating pathways for young people to succeed. They're social workers, therapists, teachers, data scientists, program specialists, youth workers, parole officers, and corrections officers. And we know that every day people in these positions come to work and truly help youth. But we need to have systems in place to ensure that youth are safe. As a result, I'm immediately ordering that any allegations of misconduct that, if true, could result in criminal charges be immediately referred to the Division of Criminal Justice. I'm also asking that any resident, past or present, of a JJC facility who may have information relevant to this investigation, who may have suffered harm at the hands of these two individuals or anybody else, please find someone that you trust and come forward. Now, nothing I can say today can change what's alleged to have happened to this young woman. We cannot undo what this young woman has endured or what she will continue to experience as a result of what is alleged to have happened. But what we can do, and what we will do, is prosecute these cases to the fullest extent of the law and work tirelessly to prevent future harms from occurring in our state facilities. While we await trial, we will be moving for detention of both Nieves and Young. I want to thank the team that worked tirelessly and skillfully and quickly to bring these charges today, and who will be tasked with seeing this case forward, and I'm going to name them. Director Stephen Furketic, who you'll hear from in a moment, Chief Weldon Powell, Deputy Director Jillian Carpenter, Bureau Chief Laura Magnone, Deputy Bureau Chief Nicole Ciano, Deputy Chief Kirsten Petney, Lieutenant Garrett Brown, Detective Kevin Merrigan, Detective Kara Murphy, Detective Jessica Marcacci, Detective Marie-Eve Cadet, Detective Brandon Mastrapasqua, Investigator Kenneth Connaughton, Investigator Andrea Prince, and Mercer County Prosecutor's Office Detective Brianna Fleming. I want to thank you all for your work and your continued efforts on this case and on behalf of vulnerable populations throughout our state. I'm now going to turn the mic over to the Director of the Division of Criminal Justice, Stephen Furketic.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Attorney General Placken. Before I begin, I want to echo General Placken and thank the dedicated team of prosecutors and detectives who worked on this case. I commend each of you for your outstanding work. As the General discussed, the conduct alleged in the complaints is deeply disturbing. Two senior corrections officers, Gary Nieves and William Young, are alleged to have abused their positions of trust and authority. And according to our investigation, the defendants are alleged to have sexually assaulted a teen under their supervision and oversight. I want to take the next few minutes and walk through some of the allegations in the complaints. The first defendant charged is Gary Nieves, age 53, of Burlington City, New Jersey. Nieves is charged with 4 counts of second-degree sexual assault, 1 count of fourth-degree criminal sexual conduct, witness tampering, and official misconduct. The maximum sentence on a second-degree charge is 10 years imprisonment. The complaint charges that Nieves sexually assaulted the teen under his supervision. Specifically, Nieves sexually assaulted the victim multiple times in the bathroom under the guise that the victim was cleaning the space. Nieves is alleged to have rolled a mop into the space to serve as a prop while assaulting the victim. Upon learning that he was being investigated, Nieves is also alleged to have written a note to the victim telling her to tell investigators that Nieves was like a father figure to her and that Nieves gives good advice. The second defendant charged is William Young, age 35, of Marlton, New Jersey. Young is charged with second-degree sexual assault, fourth-degree criminal sexual contact, and official misconduct. Again, the maximum sentence on a second-degree charge is 10 years imprisonment. The complaint charges that Nieves sexually assaulted the teen under his supervision, and that Young sexually assaulted the victim in her cell, and that Young pretended that he was supervising the victim while she cleaned her room. Individuals who guard correctional facilities have the important and difficult responsibility of ensuring those spaces remain safe and secure. This is of particular importance in facilities that are occupied by juveniles and young offenders. The allegations in today's complaint constitute a complete violation of the duties of these positions of trust. This case should send a clear message that when the Division of Criminal Justice learns that an official is violating a position of trust and that a vulnerable individual is being victimized, those allegations will be vigorously investigated and, if appropriate, vigorously prosecuted. Thank you again to the detectives and the prosecutors for their work on this matter.
Thank you, Director. Happy to take a few questions.
Sorry if I missed this. Did you say the age of the victim at all?
Do you want to address that?
Yes, the age of the victim is 18.
18. And also, is there a time frame here in terms of how long the abuse, when did it start, when did it end, how long did it go on?
Can't comment on the investigation beyond that at this time.
And how old was Young? Was he 29?
He's 35.
35?
Yes.
And your name? I'm sorry.
It's Director of the Division of Criminal Justice, Stephen Furketic. I'm Attorney General Matt Placken.
You need a spelling for his name. Okay, so the
Ferketic. I got it
Just
down.
off topic, can we ask you something off topic?
Sure.
The mortgage redlining
Yeah.
that your investigation, your office has been investigating for the past year or so. Can you tell us what you found and what you're doing?
Sure. So, mortgage redlining is a term that dates back to the 1960s, but obviously goes back hundreds of years, where people draw literal circles around whole communities and keep certain folks from having access to housing in those communities by not lending to them. And we have made combating mortgage redlining and housing discrimination in all forms a priority. We were part of the largest mortgage redlining settlement in the country a couple years ago with Trident Mortgage. The report we released today against Republic First was the result of a substantial investigation into a widespread pattern and practice of mortgage redlining by Republic First in Black, Hispanic, and Asian communities. We found that of all the loans that they originated, only 6% were in majority Black, Hispanic, or Latino communities, or majority Black, Hispanic, or Asian communities. And of the loans that they originated in those communities, most went to white residents. When you compare them to a peer bank, they were about 3 times less likely to loan in one of those communities. So we issued the report. That investigation, that work is continuing, as is our other work in combating mortgage redlining, because we know that housing is fundamental, and the law is clear in New Jersey. You cannot discriminate against someone in the house at any point in the housing process because of their race.
Are you part of a lawsuit as well, right? So you filed a lawsuit, or?
Well, Republic First has been taken over by Fulton Bank, and we have filed a claim in that process. But we are going to continue to pursue any possible action against them and anybody else who would violate our civil rights laws.
What are you going to do to make sure this doesn't happen? The steps that your office is taking.
Well, with respect to Republic First, we're continuing to pursue that, including looking at the conduct of the acquiring bank, Fulton. But with respect to anybody, we've made clear, again, we along with Pennsylvania, Delaware, and the Department of Justice were part of the largest mortgage redlining case in the history of the country in South Jersey, and we're going to continue to bring actions against people who violate our residents' rights in the housing process, whether that's be in applying for housing, for rental assistance, seeking a mortgage, going through the home appraisal process, or if you're a large company redlining. Every step of the way, we are going to protect that right.
Are there other questions? Go ahead. Please go.
Yeah.
I just had an on-topic question about the other stuff. So I had 2 things. One, if you could talk to us a little bit about how it was discovered. I don't know if she reported it or they were caught in the act or what happened. And the other question I had was, you've done a number of things lately where, as a result, you've ordered like policy changes. Are there any policy changes here? Are there any lapses that you discovered with JJC that are concerning? Like, is there anything along those lines that are like policy implications?
Yeah, so can't give any more information about how the case was reported other than what we've disclosed. But, as I said, the investigation is ongoing. Anyone who has further information about this instance or any other potential harm, we want them to please come forward. With respect to policy changes, as I said, we've directed the JJC now, anytime there's an allegation that could result in potential criminal conduct, even before it's substantiated, we want them to report it immediately to the Division of Criminal Justice so that we can take a look at it from that perspective. And with respect to ongoing reforms, yeah, as I said, we're gonna take a hard look at the circumstances that allowed for this type of conduct to occur and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
How was it handled previously? Was it just handled in, like, if there's an allegation before, did they just report it to DOC? Like, how's that a change, I guess?
One of the things we are looking at is how these complaints would have been handled. Now, again, a complaint that could result in criminal charges can encompass a lot of conduct, but now we're saying any complaint that could potentially be criminal. It doesn't necessarily mean criminal sexual conduct. We want that immediately reported to the Division of Criminal Justice. So we're going to include a whole range of conduct now and make sure that we are taking a very critical look at each and every allegation so that it gets handled appropriately.
I do have a question. Nobody else has a question. Attorney General Fatkin. Just recently there was this report that a second in command of the state police had made disparaging remarks about you. I know you recused yourself from the case. Can you just tell us about just your feelings about what you heard and what could be happening as a result?
As I said last week, and I'm not going to comment on an investigation. I've recused myself from that investigation. That investigation will play out, and I will reserve judgment. But as it relates generally to allegations of bias, whether that occur in the public or within law enforcement, we have been very clear that any allegation of biased conduct, we want it to be reported. And sometimes those allegations prove substantiated, and sometimes they don't. But we want people to feel comfortable coming forward and raising potential complaints. That is our obligation in law enforcement. That's part of what we are committed to doing. It's the campaign we're running right now, No Hate in the Garden State. We care about combating bias of any kind in all its form. I'm confident that as long as I'm here, that is going to continue to be the top priority for us, because right now there is an epidemic of bias in this state and in this country. And too many people feel unsafe because of who they are, how they look, what language they speak, how they worship, or who they love. And I'll say that as somebody who, yes, has been subject to biased conduct myself. It's unacceptable. We won't tolerate it, and we will not in any way deter people from coming forward and reporting that conduct.
It is rare to have you. If there's no more questions, I have one more. Sorry. In terms of voting, what measures are you taking to protect voters at the?
Well, we were here last week talking about this exact topic, but I'm happy to repeat. We, in conjunction with Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State, and the Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness, we are taking a range of protections going into next week, and we're already voting in person, as you know, early voting, and I'm thrilled to see the lines and the attendance at early voting sites. Everyone should exercise their fundamental right to vote, and you should be confident that in New Jersey, we are going to protect that right. So in our office, we will have hundreds of attorneys performing shifts starting last Saturday through Election Day and in the days following during the vote tabulation process to provide counsel to the superintendents and county boards of elections. I stood up 2 years ago, something that we have now significantly expanded, the state's first voter protection initiative, using resources from our Division on Civil Rights as well as attorneys in my office to ensure that through the state's Civil Rights Act or the Law Against Discrimination, any complaint of potential bias or interference with your right to vote is investigated, and we will hold folks accountable if they interfere with that right. And once the election is concluded and we're into the vote tabulation process, we will continue to ensure both security, and unfortunately we have to say this now, physical security for our poll workers who are performing a vital and critical task as part of our democratic process, as well as to ensure that the votes are counted and every vote is counted and everyone's voice is heard in accordance with our election laws. I want to thank you all for coming, and I want to thank again the investigative and prosecution team on this case.